Hello, welcome to that 19th Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, James Sunstow, and today we are making our predictions for the Royal Rumble 2021. And joining me, I've got a couple of good friends of mine. First off, from the Jofo podcast, Mr. Jeremy Prophet, Black Dynamite. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic as always. So happy to be here with the #1 show out of the UK. People, if you don't know who this man is, then what's the point in living? So glad to be here on the 90s podcast.
Thanks so much. And joining me once again from Rewind Recap with Jonah. I always get his names mixed up.
I know, some people do. If you want, just say R3 and we'll be all fine. But James, thank you for having me again. This is awesome. I can't wait to put our predictions out there for the 2021 Royal Rumble.
No problem. So it's going to be a bit of a weird Rumble this year. No fans, obviously. So it's not going to be the same with the countdowns. And I had some predictions for the Rumble, and they might be changing after hearing some news today. But I don't know if it's going to be a dangerous thing having so many. I can't imagine there's going to be many spots in the match where there's going to be loads of superstars at once, obviously, with COVID and things like that. So don't be surprised if, previous years we've seen 8 or 9 people in the ring. Don't be surprised if we don't see any more than, say, 4 or 5 people.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And what you just said about countdowns, I feel like they're, like with the track record of, noises that they plant in, I feel like we are going to hear the countdown, right? Like that's the only chant that they could reliably say that would be said in real life. Like we could put that in. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
At least I feel like we're going to see those.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet about the countdown. I got to say that, I was wondering about the Rumble too, with COVID, having that many bodies in the ring at the same time. But then again, I saw SmackDown and they did that 9-man tag, maybe one of the first 9-man tags to ever happen in wrestling history, certainly in WWE. So it looks like they might be keeping their number around there. Maybe 10 might have been like a limit or might have been too much. So they're probably going to have to restrict the amount of people that appear in the Rumble, which could open the door for someone to do something similar to what Brock Lesnar did last year and just kind of turn the Rumble into kind of like a gauntlet match.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And obviously, because of last year, in my opinion, it's one of the best Rumbles ever. So
agreed, 100%. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing something like that again. So I suppose we get to the matches. So the first match is for the SmackDown's Women's Titles match. Sasha Banks v Carmella. I'll be honest, lads, I can only see one winning. That is Sasha Banks.
Yep, definitely. I think that Carmella, she came back with a lot of momentum. I like the new persona. Really don't like Reginald that much. I think that he should have stayed back in NXT where he left half of his hairline and clearly most of his talent, despite the fact he's got some nice flippies. But, I think that Carmella, her time will come eventually. I actually liked her last run. But right now, Sasha is the one with the momentum behind her. Sasha is more of the marquee draw if we're looking at a champion going into WrestleMania. And I think that there are a lot of interesting options for her that could be coming out of the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, I got to go with Sasha all the way on that one.
Agreed. And you, Jonah?
Yeah. So I love Carmella's last run too. Jeremy, I don't know if you're referring specifically to the Princess of Staten Island, but I was big on I was big on that personality. I thought she really did a great job. And I think she came back with a lot of momentum. I think everyone knew she was coming back. Like those vignettes, I don't know if they added or took away or anything. Probably only added to the whole situation. But I was happy to see her back. I thought they put on a great match last pay-per-view. I thought that was definitely one that people were probably sleeping on going into it, but afterwards it was one of the better matches of the night. I think, I don't know. I would hate to see Carmella come back and lose twice, and I know the first time they were making sure they took care of that whole Sasha can win a title but not defend it, and they took care of that with Sasha picking up the win last time. But I don't know. Like I would love to see Carmella take it. I think it would shake things up a bit. And like I said, I wouldn't want her losing twice in a row, so I'm going to go with Carmella. With this one, I wouldn't say all my confidence is in it, but I'm going to go with Carmella. I'd like to see.
I do believe if someone else was holding the belt, then I would be fully behind the idea that Carmella would be winning the title. But Sasha Banks is trying to get into the mainstream pop culture, obviously being in the Mandalorian and things like that, and so you can, and obviously it's WrestleMania season, and traditionally Royal Rumble time, they don't like to change the titles too much, because they've already got their idea who their champions is going into Mania. So, so 2-1 for Sasha, but we might be wrong, Jeremy.
Well, the way I look at it is I don't think they really have anyone else that they've built up to be able to challenge Sasha credibly. So I think they're just going to go with Carmella again. And you know me, I'm always one of the first ones to want to knock the book in. Maybe it comes from me being a writer myself. Maybe it comes from me being a wrestler myself. But we're going into a pay-per-view where we may face the possibility of Kevin Owens losing 3 straight matches to the Tribal Chief. So if they're willing to sacrifice him at the altar of one of their champions, as much as I really like Carmella, I think that it's probably going to be her meeting the same fate at the hands of Sasha.
Cool. And the next match, I'll be honest, this match I've got no interest in. It's the Raw Women's Tag Team match between Charlotte Flair and Asuka, the champions, against Baszler and Nia Jax. I have got no interest in this match at all. But if I had to pick a winner, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Baszler and Nia wins and we end up seeing Flair for the 3rd year in a row pretty much defeat Asuka on the way to WrestleMania for the title.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to agree with you on 2 in a row here, but definitely I would think that this is going to be the end of their tag team run. Kind of a run that came out of nowhere and is probably just going to only serve as a vehicle to further them going into a program, as you said, on the road to WrestleMania. I do personally believe that Becky Lynch will somehow be figured into the mix, and I would have liked to see Becky culminate her story with Asuka, which I still feel could be a possibility. But definitely, I think that the women's tag titles serve no purpose on a makeshift team of Asuka and Charlotte. And I think that the belts going back to Nia and Shayna will at least open the door to some more interesting tag team matches from a team that is more believable as a tag team. And it won't hold up the division by having 2 belts on Asuka when she can only really defend 1 at a time.
Cool. And you, Jonah?
Yeah, I'm definitely going with that they dropped the titles to Nia and Baszler. A team that I actually have gotten more and more behind as their run has gone on. Like, I know that a lot of people were kind of down on Nia for a while and maybe still are, but I enjoyed their team. And I like that. One thing I like with the women's tag division is, it did come out of nowhere, definitely, Charlotte and Asuka. And also Asuka is champ, so it's a little peculiar that she's holding both belts right now. I kind of hate when they do that to somebody because let me just quick side note, is Asuka, does she have a match for the belt as well that night or no?
Don't think so. No.
So yeah, I kind of hate to see that. I get that they're trying to add, more legitimacy to the tag belts, try to put them on more teams. But look at how Nia and Baszler formed in the first place, was makeshift. So that's one thing I like about the women's tag division, is that we're seeing these teams that we probably wouldn't have seen otherwise if they didn't have belts to go after. But back to the match, I see Baszler and Jax winning and becoming 2-time champs. And I think that's kind of cool that they have tag belts under their name. And I see Charlotte and Asuka going at it. And I don't know if I see Charlotte winning the belt, though. I kind of want to see a second go about it with them, with her and Ripley, if Ripley doesn't win the Rumble.
And don't forget that Charlotte is also embroiled in that storyline with Lacey Evans and Ric Flair.
Exactly. She has a lot going on, and I don't know if any of it really needs to involve the belt right now. So if she loses the tag belt, when I say belt, I mean the Raw Women's Championship. So if she loses the tag belt, I don't know if I want to see her go with Asuka in that story. Maybe go against her and lose if that's the case. But yeah, so for that match, yeah.
Right, clean sweep for them. So next one we got, it's mentioned it previous, the Universal title match, last man standing match, Roman versus Kevin Owens. I'll be honest, lads, this is my lock of the night. No way Roman's losing tonight. I just can't see it.
Me neither. I don't see it either. I see Roman taking it from Owens, even though it is 3 straight losses for Owens. I think that Owens has impressed so many people in this amount of time with this story with Roman. Like, even though he's not getting the win, sometimes I think, Jeremy, you said this on one of our collaborations. It's almost, it helps you more to lose than win sometimes.
I with all due respect, I most definitely did not say that. In fact, I remember the moment where that was said. I think it was in regards.
Who said that?
I think it was the guys from Backstage Brawl, if I'm not mistaken, and it was in regards to Big E. And I wouldn't say it's that I have such a tremendous memory, but because that one stuck out to me that I really wanted to comment on it, and I had to bite my tongue. Because I do not believe that losing is ever winning. Winning is winning. There is no, not to say there aren't exceptions, which, there'll always be Daniel Bryan getting brogue kicked in 8 seconds that, causes a cataclysmic chain reaction that leads to him becoming a bigger star than anyone ever thought possible. But those are few and far between. losing is not winning. Winning is winning. And when people were saying that Big E, in losing to Roman Reigns down the line, could become a bigger star and look good in defeat, no, it doesn't happen. It just shows that you can't win the big one. And so it's a narrative that is preached by a lot of people in wrestling. I feel like it's a bad way of thinking that is used by promoters to sell people on losing in a world where losing should not be that big of a deal. To bring this full circle to Kevin's story with Roman Reigns, one of the things that stands out to me, why I also feel much like James that this is a lock, is the stipulation, last man standing. So at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it's not as though Kevin is being pinned 1, 2, 3 or made to submit. He's losing to a stipulation. And as a wrestler, a lot of times promoters will come to you and they'll say, well, you know, you're going to take this loss or maybe multiple losses. But if you look at them, there was a lot of interference in the TLC match that they had. And that wasn't a pinfall loss. Roman escaped the cage. In the cage, I think he escaped the cage. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Kevin was handcuffed as Roman just walked out of the cage.
Roman walked down the stairs.
And then now a last man standing match. Again, Kevin gets to lose with a certain level of dignity. Now, people on the inside, they feel that this is protecting the person. And yeah, I guess he can come back and say he wasn't made to submit or be pinned. However, it's still a third consecutive loss, just with a moderate amount of dignity with the stipulation to protect him. I think the stipulation is specifically there because they've done everything short of bringing him out and getting him tarred and feathered at the expense of the tribal chief. So my pick, Roman Reigns, tribal chief, doing a fantastic job, I might add, getting it done on the mic, fantastic character work, in-ring work. And yeah, I think he's going to have the belt for a very, very long time.
Agreed. And the next one, this is this is probably more talked about than the actual Rumble matches themselves. McIntyre v Goldberg for the WWE title. Now this is the one I don't know where it's going. This in the men's Rumble. This one, I've got no idea. I'll be honest. I want McIntyre to win, obviously. I think 99% of the population wants McIntyre to win. Now, I've got a theory. I've always had the theory that eventually the Money in the Bank holder is going to cash the briefcase in, and he's going to take the pin in a triple threat match, and rather the holder of the title is going to pin him, or the challenger is going to pin the Money in the Bank winner. So I possibly see a case where Miz cashes in, and he actually gets pinned either by Goldberg or McIntyre. So if Goldberg does pin Miz, yes, McIntyre's lost his title, but you can kind of say, I never got pinned for it. If McIntyre pins Miz, Goldberg be like, pissed off, but hopefully that gives him an out to say, right, he didn't lose the match, and now we can shuffle him off to the side to do something else at WrestleMania. So, going left field, I think Miz is going to cash in, and this is a tough one. I want to say McIntyre will pin him, but I'll say McIntyre's going to pin him because there's a reason they've kept the belt on. I know McIntyre lost against Orton for like a couple of weeks, but he got the title back straight away. And WWE loves McIntyre because he does so much good PR work for media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with McIntyre win, but as a caveat to that, I think he might pin Miz instead of pinning Goldberg.
Jeremy, you want to take it first?
I can. You can have this one, Jonah.
All right. So yeah, James, I agree. Much like you just said, like there's a reason why they put the belt back on McIntyre. I think it's such a glaring thing that they put the briefcase back on Miz after, nobody would have, I don't think many people would have realized that Morrison is the one that handed it to the official, and that was like the loophole. I wouldn't have really said anything about that if Miz lost it. I was upset that I think they wasted it on Miz in that cash-in, but I was like fine with it the next day. Like I was like, all right, but they gave it back to him for a reason. And I agree. I think to make Goldberg still have that aura that he has and get more matches out of him after this, I think Miz is going to cash in and he's going to take the pin. And I think McIntyre is going to keep it. I don't see McIntyre losing it and then winning it back, for a third time, like in the span of a very short amount of, like, what has it been? Come Mania, it'll be a year since he won it the first time. lost it, won it again. I don't know. It's not unheard of. Charlotte's already like a 10 or 11 time or something champ in such a short time, so it's not unheard of. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's a great theory. And other than Miz cashing in now, I really don't know when else he would do it. I guess there's countless opportunities, and we can't see that far out. But still, I think your theory's spot on. Yeah, I think it keeps everyone pretty healthy in the match.
Cool. You, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think you got a great theory there with Miz. I think that's a much better idea than what the creative team can usually come up with. So, kudos to you on that one.
Thank you.
I'm going to be a little controversial here in my prediction. Now, I got to preface this by saying I absolutely love Drew McIntyre. Much praise to my fellow Scot, Drew McIntyre, for all the great work he's done, taken the ball and ran with it, and he definitely should be on top of that company. I think his potential is really unlimited. With that said, you can never deny the political skills of Bill Goldberg.
True.
That Goldberg is not a man who's coming in to just do a job for nothing. And I don't believe that Goldberg is just coming in just to put over Drew McIntyre. We kind of saw him do it with Braun Strowman at WrestleMania, but that was supposed to be Roman Reigns, who has a lot more value and equity in WWE than Braun Strowman. So I foresee a situation, and I'm going to tie this into my Rumble pick, like I said on Circle of Debate.
Oh, nice.
Where I do believe we could potentially see a Goldberg title reign, which, as a fan of WCW, it'd be nice to see Bill Goldberg finally win the WWE Championship. Yeah. And I think this could tie in very well to my Rumble prediction, which was The Fiend, and that we get a rematch, and Goldberg puts over The Fiend, who he had defeated in Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to go, as much as I love Drew McIntyre, I'm going to go with Bill Goldberg for the Royal Rumble.
Go where it is. So, cool. So we go to
I got to jump in while he just said it because it's fresh in my mind. The Fiend winning the belt back, I don't think he needs it based on like past experience of him holding the belt. Like I compare the Fiend to Undertaker just persona-wise in that Taker. How many times has he held the world title in that 30-year career?
WWE title, I think he held 4 times, and the World Heavyweight title, I think he held 3. So 7-0.
I just think the Fiend's credibility is so lost when he had to lose those title reigns that he had. Because when you win a title, obviously you have to lose it down the line. And I just think he works best as a persona that comes out and does his job. He's probably one of the best characters they have right there. And I don't know if he necessarily needs the belt. That's why I've kind of been against the Fiend getting a title shot again. Like I enjoy what he's doing with Orton right now. I think the whole Alexa Bliss thing is carrying Raw in a big way right now with Orton. And that's just my opinion on Fiend winning the Rumble or going against Goldberg for the belt down the line. I'm curious to see what you have to say.
Well, I mean, agree to disagree on that, because I do feel that the Fiend is a crucial part of the show. Needing the belt, not needing the belt, just my personal opinion, or just my effing opinion, as the show is entitled. But I do think that you should have your top act with the championship. And I think that the Fiend, regardless of what people think of his in-ring performance, it's a fantastic character, and it's one that you can't turn your attention from. Even elements of the Fiend now rubbing off on Alexa, making her a more compelling character. A lot of Raw is written around that, especially this new, darker, edgier Raw that they have claimed to be inspired to do because of the pressure from the USA Network. So I think how better to culminate that than the Fiend coming back, getting the championship, and in a match where he has an opponent that he has a built-in story with. And we know the Fiend always remembers, much like the North remembers in Game of Thrones, the Fiend always remembers. So there's a lot of material there that Goldberg stopped his big run. And I would just like to see the Fiend finally become what he looked like and what it started to look like when he faced Seth Rollins and, all of these other guys, where he was this indestructible force until Goldberg came along with a few spears and a poorly executed jackhammer and then suddenly defeated him. So I do think that there's some meat on the bone to that rivalry and the story that can be told. And I think it would actually get a lot of goodwill for Mr. William Goldberg if he were to come back and right that wrong. So that's just how I see it.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting match. And the thing is, because it's Goldberg, it's not going to be a long match. It's going to be
No,
10 minutes.
we're gonna know the finish pretty quick.
Yeah,
with entrance.
I personally feel that his matches with Brock Lesnar, aside from the one at Mania 20, they were perfection.
Oh, they're awesome.
All they needed to be short and sweet, action from start to finish, told a great story.
Oh, they're awesome. So we're not going to wait long for the result, but it's just what's going to be the result. So we'll soon find out. So we'll jump on to the first Rumble of the night, the Women's Royal Rumble. Interested in this one. I had a theory of who I thought was going to win it for a while, but the last couple of weeks I'm leaning towards. So for a while I've been thinking Rhea Ripley, and it kind of ties in with my Charlotte theory that Charlotte is eventually going to defeat Oscar again for the title, and Ripley's going to win the Rumble, and they're going to have a rematch from last year for the Raw Women's title this time. So kind of roles reversed. Ripley's Rumble winning, she's going in as the challenger this time, and it would be nice to see her get a revenge on Charlotte. And don't get me wrong, I love Charlotte. I think she's one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. But I think her perfect role, just being this like a father, really, being an arrogant heel champion, and it's always great to have a good babyface go against her. But in saying that, Bianca Belair's got so much steam behind her, and especially like lately, for you could say like it would be such a groundbreaking moment, for the the Black community. Like if it was Bianca versus Sasha for the title at WrestleMania, some people would like to see that main event Mania as well, which I wouldn't argue with. So that would be great, and that's a match I could see happening at Mania. Rather, if Bianca wins the Rumble or not, I do think it might be her and Sasha at Mania. So I'm torn between them two, but if I'm gonna pick one, I'm gonna lean towards Ripley, just due to the fact as well we haven't seen her on TV for a while as well. So, and there's a reason she's been written off NXT, because she's ready for the main event, ready for the main roster. Jeremy?
Yeah, when we did the Circle of Debate, I mean, I had gone all in on Charlotte simply because she's Charlotte, and the company, by hook or by crook, is going to keep her at the top of the card, regardless of the fact that I kind of feel like Charlotte is not, as you said, in her best role right now. I don't think she should be a babyface. I think that she actually brings down a lot of her opponents as a babyface because she's too strong and dominant. And it's funny when you look at Charlotte's career, her best matches have been with great workers, but she doesn't have the ability, or has not really shown the ability, except on rare occasions, to take an inferior worker or less experienced and bring them up to that level where they can have great matches, which people like Bayley and Sasha are able to do. So I think personally that's a big weakness of Charlotte, especially as a babyface. But I think she's a fantastic heel. I think she's one of the most hateable women in WWE history. She's even, I would say, a better heel than her father, Ric Flair. And I know that's saying a lot, but I feel Charlotte, she just understands how to be a bully on screen. So I gotta go with Charlotte, because why bet against her? But I have to admit, your Rhea Ripley theory is really turning in my head, because we haven't seen her on NXT. She's clearly ready for the main roster, has a built-in story with Charlotte, and I kind of think they did her a little dirty last year by having her lose, because Charlotte really gained nothing out of that, just winning the championship, going down to NXT, decimating a bunch of those girls, not even taking the pin in the match where she lost the championship, which was actually taken by Rhea Ripley at the hands of Io Shirai.
Yeah.
So I think that if they want to make this girl into a major player in the company, it would be a good time to do it. But I still feel that Charlotte is everything the company likes. And so long as those same people are in charge, it's not going to be a Bianca Belair. It's not going to be anyone else, but the woman I like to call, not the queen, I call her the Dairy Queen, and that's Charlotte.
Cool. And Jonah?
I'm going to stick with, I'm on your side. I'm Rhea Ripley all the way. Super over on Ripley. I think she's such a star. I think she showed that she has the ability to really be a key asset on main roster with that match with Charlotte at Mania. So I'm all for Ripley winning this Rumble, and I agree with you. I think that was such a perfect way to go out on that note with Raquel Gonzalez. That was such a great match, and to go out on that, I mean, they would be fantastic, and then show up on main roster. I just hope she would be used well and everything. But for the Rumble, yeah, if it's not Ripley, I'm really siding with Belair. I think they've been hyping her up for it. So it'd be Ripley and then Belair. I've also been hearing so much talk about Ronda Rousey. I don't know if you guys have either. I don't know if I see it, especially with no fans. I don't know if that's what they'd go with, but it's always a possibility. Yeah.
I've been out of the loop on Ronda, but did she ever end up actually getting pregnant or no?
I don't
think so.
Because I think that was what she was working on, and I get a feeling like maybe she's not going to want to, jeopardize her health until that becomes a thing, unless she's given up on it.
Fair point. Yeah.
So I don't really, nor do I want Ronda to come back. Really, I could not care any less for her presence on television. I've heard, again, I don't want to drag her through the mud, but whatever. I didn't really enjoy her run. I hear Bret Hart talk about, how reckless Goldberg was in the ring and how, wrestling him was like wrestling a gorilla. I see Ronda in there and I feel like it's the same thing. The way she threw around Alexa Bliss and it injured her and, was just totally reckless in there. They gave her everything. She put over one person when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
I think whatever rub they got off of Ronda, they don't really need at this point. They have a perfectly capable, great worker in Shayna Baszler who could be everything that Ronda was supposed to be and more. I'd rather see them invest in her. That's just my 2 cents on Ronda.
Yeah, and before Baszler went main roster, her and Ripley defeated Baszler to end a title run with the NXT Women's title. So they had some great matches. So that's why I'm hoping Ripley goes up, wins the title, and she can have some good matches with the likes of Baszler and Oscar and all these people. So fingers crossed, and we'll get to the main event. I think it will be the main event of the show, the Men's Royal Rumble, and I think this is one of the most open Rumbles we've had for quite a while, to be honest. No clear-cut favourite, and so I had a left field pick for Keith Lee and Brock Lesnar was going to be co-winners, but I don't know if it's true. Saw of it today, Keith Lee's contracted COVID, so...
Is that true? I couldn't find that anywhere. I saw your tweet, but I couldn't. That's like confirmed. He has COVID.
He wasn't on Raw this week.
Yeah, he's missed 2 weeks in a row. Yeah.
A guy I podcast with, Mags, he said to me that Maya Lim supposed to have came out and said no, it's false. But I'm still hearing that he's got it. So that's that theory gone out the window for myself. This is a tough one, to be honest. I'll let you take the floor first.
Just to come back to that Keith Lee COVID thing, I mean, it's probably not unfathomable that he got that from Drew McIntyre because he tested positive. They had a match not too long back. And right. He hasn't been on TV. And I've also noticed a number of talents, especially on the SmackDown brand, have totally disappeared. I was telling the joke the other day that, it's as if Thanos did his snap and tons of people around that Mysterio and King Corbin angle disappeared. The Knights of the Lone Wolf are gone. Right. Murphy is gone. We haven't seen Murphy in forever. Aaliyah, Ray's wife, and Seth Rollins, of course. But we know he's away for maternity leave. But I mean, yeah, you're right. It is a very wide open Rumble. And if Keith Lee did test positive, that's some really unfortunate timing for that. That's some, Mustafa Ali bad timing on that one. Yeah. But which, his name, I don't think that's even his real name, but, we can continue to dissect the pronunciation, but that guy, bad timing, like with Kofi. I would say that, I'm going to stick with my prediction for the Rumble, which I've already said. I feel like it will be the return of the Fiend Bray Wyatt, but I'll even double down on something else. Because obviously the Fiend is embroiled in that rivalry with Randy Orton. And I can't help but get this image out of my mind of a moment in the Rumble where maybe Randy Orton and Edge come face to face with their long-standing history.
God, yes.
And the next entrant is the Fiend. And then you have the three of them. And I kind of think that I have a theory about Edge. I saw that promo, was very passionate. Edge... he can cut a hell of a promo. There's no denying it. It had me believing and saying, maybe it's going to be Edge. But I think that there's another direction Edge is going to go in. I think I know who they probably want to pair him up with. And you just have to look to last year's Royal Rumble where he speared AJ Styles. AJ unfortunately got injured on the spot. But AJ has kind of become the resident caretaker of WWE, working with the likes of The Undertaker and, the older wrestlers. I think that Edge's destiny for Mania is probably going to be with AJ Styles. So I think that there'll be some interaction there that removes Edge from the Rumble. But I do think we're going to get that moment of Edge, Randy Orton, and The Fiend all in there at the same time. And I'm sticking with my prediction. I'm sticking with The Fiend. He's winning. He's going to Mania.
Awesome. Jonah?
It's a good pick, like especially since The Fiend, as we said, such a memorable character. Like he definitely needs a Rumble win under his belt. I think so many people need a Rumble win under their belt though, and like time is maybe running thin. I would love to see AJ have a Rumble win under his belt. I'd love to see my pick being Daniel Bryan have a Rumble win under his belt as well. I really do think Bryan's going to take this one. I think as we see it happening, I don't know if they're still planning it because there hasn't been as much interaction, but Sheamus and Drew, I think, is what we're going to get or what we are going to get, whatever, if it's still in the books. But I think they could do Sheamus without having him win the Rumble, especially for a second time. I think they could do Drew and Sheamus without the Rumble involved.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick, it'd be Daniel Bryan as my number one pick to win it. It was Keith Lee for a while. It also was Big E, but he didn't lose the IC title, did he?
No. And when we done Circle Debate, that like Big E was my pick, but it was 2 months ago, so it was quite early, to make these predictions.
Yeah, exactly.
And I kind of thought that he was like, I think he won the IC title the week after we recorded it, but I knew he was going to go and win it. I thought at some point he was going to lose it in between, but obviously that hasn't panned out. So that's why it's good to do these predictions a night before, I suppose. We know where we are with the storylines. I'm going to agree, Jonah. I think I'm going Daniel Bryan. Roman Reigns, I'm thinking, like, who can you put him up against at WrestleMania? Now, I've always been under the impression myself that had this been a full stadium, arena full of fans, and especially because the original tagline for this year's Mania was going to be WrestleMania Hollywood, it was going to be Roman v. The Rock. I think, that's an educated guess. I think they'll eventually do that down the road once we do get fans back. So I think they're thinking, let's put a marquee match back on. And I can see it being Daniel Bryan. He's beloved by the fans. He'll be a great baby face going into Mania. And it'd be nice for him to have a Rumble win on his match under his belt. So going to have to agree and go Daniel Bryan. So that's our picks. But I've got I've got 4 more little questions here. So the Royal Rumbles is obviously full of surprises. So there's been rumours that there might be some debuts happening. So do you see a debut happening in either Rumble?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
Yep.
I'll just jump in. I think we're going to see Damian Priest. I think he's definite in this Rumble. I think we may see some unorthodox ones as well, like a Cameron Grimes or a what's his name, Dexter Loomis. I think that could definitely be a possibility. Those are like my three from NXT.
That was going to be the other segment, like which NXT stars you going to see come.
Oh, this wasn't. But I thought you said debut, or this is just.
Like
my bad. My bad, James. My bad. You're the host.
No, right. Well, we'll go back to that. But yeah, NXT. Damian Priest, I think, is nailed on to being the Rumble as well as a call up for NXT.
Yep. I was also going to say Priest. But I mean, there have been some other people, I think, too, that have been sitting on the sidelines. Like, I think Vanessa Bourne has kind of just been in purgatory ever since COVID hit. So, maybe the Rumble might be an opportunity to finally introduce her to the audience. Really surprised they haven't done anything with her. I've been pretty impressed by her. I think that having someone that, even just that looks like her on TV is a good thing. So.
Yeah, true. Cool. So that's the NXT ones. But as for a debut, a debut from someone outside the company. So, I mean, the name floating about is Switchblade Jay White, which I don't know if you've watched much New Japan, but he just lost at Wrestle Kingdom with Kota Ibushi in a great match. There's rumours that he's joining WWE, and apparently something came out like WWE trying to sue a airline because they wouldn't authorize this flight and they want to get this flight authorized or something like along them lines.
Wow.
Like someone brought it up and they said, it was like a certain flight charter and these things. So like, I don't know, I skimmed the tweet, but it was something like that. So if I had to say I don't think it'll happen, but if I had to say someone who's going to make a debut in the company, then I'll go Switchblade, which I'd love to see.
Yeah, no, it sounds about right. They did the same thing with AJ Styles when he debuted in the Rumble. I can see a lot of parallels there, considering that, he's coming from Japan. AJ had just wrapped up with them at the same time. While I don't feel that Jay White is a talent as that he's as good of a talent as AJ Styles, or as good as AJ was at that point, I do think he's a marquee name on the independent scene. People should know who he is. He's a ready-made commodity coming in. It's not like it's just a complete unknown. So it could be a good way to introduce him to the audience, maybe have him put in some good amount of time in the Rumble, maybe even have him be the number, I wouldn't say maybe number 1, but number 2 could be pretty good. Give him a nice entrance. Maybe him and Daniel Bryan start off the Rumble. Nice little treat for the fans. I can see that happening.
Cool. You, Jonah, or are you agreeing with Jay White?
Yeah, I agree with Jay White. I gotta admit, I probably haven't paid as much attention as I should to those companies that have or I paid attention to companies, but those bigger names are on the level like Jay White to kind of take off and join WWE. So I'd have to just hop on that bandwagon because I do know a lot about Jay White. And if what you're saying is true with the flight, it's very believable. Especially with a bunch of I was gonna say, especially with a bunch of companies right now. In theory, to collaborate with the whole AEW and Impact thing, I don't know if WWE would go the route of getting somebody from those the companies that were rumored to join that kind of teamwork thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they might stay away from that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and if Jay White, he's got, like Jeremy said, he's not an AJ Styles, but he's established in New Japan and he's done some work in Ring of Honor. And WWE, I think Jay White's someone who can be a breakout star. I think he's still pretty young. And I think WWE, being smart, wouldn't want to see someone like that join an AEW, which, I'll be honest, AEW hasn't had the greatest booking of making superstars, but that's my opinion. But letting someone of that talent go to potentially a rival company, they're not a rival company, but you know what I mean. I don't think they would make that mistake. But the last 2 of the category, so returns.
Because I had one more that I'd like to say. I think might be making a debut, and I think it would be a perfect opportunity for this person to be showcased. And I personally hope they do end up in WWE. I know that's hard to believe, considering it's me talking, and I'm very critical of WWE. But I would love to see Taya Valkyrie show up in the women's Royal Rumble.
That is true. Yes. That is very true. She just ended. Yeah,
that's right. That's a great prediction, and there's been rumblings. So that is a great prediction, and that's.
I know there are two. Yeah, I know there are 2 people who just became free agents too. With what was it, Zicky Dice and Ethan Page, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing them in the Rumble, but
I could see Ethan Page. He really impressed me with the North. I couldn't see Zicky Dice, but
Zicky Dice. I mean, I've interviewed him, and great guy to speak to, but. His gimmick is someone who I could see working on Impact Wrestling. I'll be honest. He's an Impact Wrestling. I don't see him in WWE or even NXT. Ethan Page, the North was one of my favorite tag teams, and he's been impressive. But we'll have to see. I mean, the thing with Ethan Page, he's got a bit. They all do Twitch and things like that, and I know he's got a big Twitch following. Obviously, with WWE and the Twitch bans and things like that, I don't know if it'll work, but. Depends if they pay him well enough. Be like, well, I don't need a Twitch anymore. So it's one of them. And the last one is returns. So a return for someone who's on the active roster and a return for someone who's not on the active roster anymore. So my prediction, a return from the active roster, I think we might see Seth Rollins come back. Might be, I don't know if it's too soon after him and Becky's had the baby, but I like to see Seth come back. I do miss seeing Seth. I wasn't a big fan of the Monday Night Messiah gimmick, I'll be honest with you. And the story, the feud with Mysterio wasn't too bad, but I do like babyface Seth, but I think they kind of shit the bed on that run, to be honest. So, if anything, I would like to see 2015 Seth Rollins come back, when he was with the Authority. Just being that cocky heel champion.
I love that. Really I love that, Seth.
Irritating. Yeah. And as for a return for someone who's not on the active roster, you hear rumblings every year, but I mean, man, I would love to see Carlito come back for a run.
Carlito, yeah, I totally agree with you. I thought a lot of the people who didn't show up for the Legends run or Legends Raw might show up in the Rumble, like Carlito.
Yeah.
It's a Freudian slip. Maybe I want Khali. But
Well, they did just do the Superstar Spectacle.
Exactly.
So maybe they got Khali in their back pocket. You know, he had a very
Maybe.
memorable Royal Rumble moment there where he was eliminated by Beth Phoenix a few years
That's
back.
right.
And who doesn't love the great Khali?
Wouldn't it be funny if Khali turned the tables and showed up in the women's rumble?
That would be wrong for so many reasons.
I don't think they're going to risk the backlash, especially after Santino
No.
came out.
I loved that. I enjoyed that.
Oh, I enjoyed it myself, but a lot of people, you know, they just think, you know, it's degrading women and that. I'm like, it's just a comedy spot, you know, get over yourselves.
It had its history. You had to be a fan to know that history. But Beth,
you know,
having Beth and Santino was pretty cool.
I didn't get to mention this, and I feel I'd be remiss because I'm such a big fan of this person. Even though my pick is Charlotte for the Women's Rumble, someone who I would be thrilled to see win the Women's Rumble would be Billie Kay. Because when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to someone who can appear on any show, even the most dreary, drab, boring episode of Raw or SmackDown, that will always put a smile on my face, it's Billie Kay. And in speaking of Santino, it reminds me of that moment where Santino almost won the Royal Rumble. And imagine, I know there's no fans, but imagine the reaction if Billie Kay did the same thing and you have, let's say, Charlotte has won the Rumble, but Billie Kay's not eliminated and she's sneaking up on her to try to eliminate her and she's going to win it. What a great moment that would be, whether she does it or not. I kind of see her as the female Santino where, you know, she can do no wrong. Every segment she's in is extremely entertaining and she puts 100% into everything she does. I would have loved to see Billie Kay win the Women's Rumble.
Yeah, I just recently released my interview with Ricardo Rodriguez, and we talked about that Santino Del Rio moment in the Rumble and how crazy it was. It was good, and I mean, that's our predictions. But the one theory, and it's been like I remember hearing this theory when during the 2012 Rumble when Sheamus won it, and like a lot of people had the theory that Chris Jericho, because leading up to it, Chris Jericho just returned, and he didn't speak, did he? He didn't spoke. He was just like,
silent. Yeah.
That's right. A lot of people.
He didn't even make contact with people until that Rumble. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
That's oh no, that's fine. That's right. And a lot of people had the theory that 28 and 29 was going to throw each other out the ring, and he would come in at number 30, not lift a finger, and win the Rumble. It obviously didn't come to pass, but our credit Titantron podcast, I think they was the ones who mentioned it. Lana coming out. I mean, what was it? Survivor Series where. Nia, she never left the apron, and I think was it Nia Jackson Belair got counted out.
Double count out, yeah.
That's right, and she became the sole survivor, and obviously she got writ off TV. I don't think she's legit injured. I think it was just storyline reasons. And she was tagging with Asuka.
For the Rumble. Sadly, I think it's just not who I want. It would make sense with what they're doing, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think she was tagging with Asuka. So does Asuka, keep the belt till WrestleMania? Lana, like we said, does the spot where everyone's out the ring. She comes out number 30. She wins the Rumble. She goes on the WrestleMania to face Asuka. It'd be fun, but I don't want to see it. But I was looking at the betting odds, and she's like 25 to 1 to do that. So I'm thinking it might be worth a tenner.
Yeah, those are some pretty good odds. I mean, I could see it happening. The only thing that's been disappointing to me about Lana's run is, as great as it's been, I think that if there were fans, it would be even better. It would have been something that would have built up organically week after week with her going through the table, the people getting behind her. And I think that she was a victim of, unfortunately, there not being fans to react organically to that. And that could have maybe catapulted her up further up the card as something that people would want to see. But I think now, I just kind of think with them taking her off TV for as long as they have, she's a little too cold to come in and win the Rumble.
Yeah. So
it's
a fun theory, so we'll see. But lads, thanks very much for coming on the show. Had a great time doing these predictions, and looking forward to the Rumble. But before we go, tell everyone where they can find you. We'll start with you, Jeremy.
Yep. Well, you can find me just about everywhere, but the place I prefer is on Twitter. You can follow me at Jeremy Prophet, JeremyProphet. You can find me on Instagram at The Real Jeremy Prophet. And you can see me every week now starting on Tuesdays. Not Wednesdays, but Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Jofo in the Ring. So if you want to find me, I'm not a hard guy to find, and shoot me a follow. And if you want to shoot me a message, I'll be happy to oblige, and we can talk some wrestling just like I did here with these fine gentlemen.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And you, Jenna?
You could find us everywhere. Similar to Jeremy, we just launched on Twitter. We're not on TikTok like Jofo I know is, but we are on Twitter at R3Jonah. We're on YouTube, Rewind, Recap, Relive. Facebook under the same name, and Instagram at Rewind, Recap, Relive. You can see all of our great interviews, like one that we're eventually going to have with Jeremy on there. Some collaborations. You can see 90s Wrestling. You can see Jofo, Circle of Debate, Dirty Heels. Everyone great in wrestling. We've collaborated, so give us a look.
Awesome. And like I said, lads, thanks again for coming on. And yeah, hopefully, it's going to be a good Rumble.